Goats are back. The goats are here to destroy a new section. Now look at this carefully. There are houses on the other side that you can't really see except for where there's, some bare patches where the trees aren't so thick. You're going to be able to see all of it. The goats are going to just make this look like a graveyard. They are going to absolutely rape these poor trees. And these saplings, well, they're going to get trampled and stripped bare and stripped of their bark.
Now, I've been doing this for a while, so let me go ahead and address some of the thoughts that some of you might be having, such as, hey, there's a lot of fire fuel mixed in there. Isn't it worth it? Or, hey, aren't some of those green plants going to turn brown? So, a couple of things. This was filmed in October, so it's after yet another long, hot, dry summer. Anything that's green now is an evergreen and native drought-resistant perennial. Stripping those only makes the habitat less healthy. As far as the fire fuel, yeah, there's a problem, but there's a bigger problem. Livestock are responsible for this invasive fire fuel, and they leave a lot of it behind while prioritizing stripping the native plants of their green. Now we come across the goats a little bit further down on the bike ride, and it just goes on and on. The number of them is incredible. And note the fence. On the left is the creek. These goats are fenced into the creek, thus making sure that they will eat the native plants that exist in the creek. Whether they wanted to or not, by the time they're unfenced from there, the damage will have occurred.
You see this and this? You see how I can't see past that tree? That's all going to change. I'm going to cross the creek really quick. Yep, just as I thought. That's a goat fence. They are going to force the goats into the riparian area. Instead of wiping out all those invasives over there from here over, which basically means the goats are going to eat every green morsel they can reach. They're absolutely the native habitat and all the animals that are trying to live here.
As I make another pass, you'll be able to see some of the goats. They don't just eat what's in front of them. They make a specific effort to pull down the branches of these trees and get to any foliage that they can. Now you have to consider that that means they are consuming any foliage that would have been within reach of native wildlife that wanted it. They are removing cover that native wildlife need in order to hide. As I pointed out at the beginning of the video, you're going to be able to see through the tree line. Seeing through the tree line is negative. It's unnatural. Wildlife don't want to be exposed. So now the place smells like a feedlot. You can see what I call death line. Up there is what the goats couldn't get to. Down below is what they did get to. There's a lot less green. Yeah, there's less of the fire fuel, but guess what? It comes right back, and it comes back fast. You can see the goats through the tree line, just like I said you'd be able to. What doesn't come back fast are the natives. This is me emerging from the creek, so let's call this a wildlife view from the creek looking out to the more urban area. Well, there's nothing to hide here. and there's no foliage on the trees to provide shade, to provide nourishment, to provide cover. And a lot of people will say, well, the tree will survive. Yeah, the tree might survive. So when did something that's being billed as a benefit for the habitat suddenly then turn to, well, we didn't kill it? Not exactly the same thing as calling something beneficial. And just look at that line. Anything that the goats couldn't get to on their hind legs is what's green. Everything else is gone. You know, wildlife don't browse like that. They don't just remove everything. There's the line. And you can see the fire fuel still on the ground. And tons of poop. Just so much poop. The final product of the habitat improvement is invasive seeds that are still left behind and poop of a species that doesn't belong there. That's just great. Look at where the green is. You can't see through. Now look just below that. There's suddenly a hole there, a gaping hole. Try thinking about it from nature's perspective for a moment. Imagine that you are a bird, a squirrel, something that wants to be in the branches. Do you want to be in the shade during the blistering heat and hidden from your potential enemies? Or do you want to be down on a bare exposed branch? As I look at the lower level of the trees here, I'm realizing this looks like winter in the Midwest, where trees actually do go bare. That's not what's supposed to happen in California. You know, winter is our rainy season. That is when new life begins for us. Very different than other parts of the country. And just on a fundamental ecological thinking level, we just did the opposite of what is supposed to be happening here. How can you possibly argue that that isn't negatively affecting the other wildlife here? We just caused something completely unnatural to happen at the time of year it absolutely should not happen. And we're like, it's good for the habitat. Going back to the argument that it's okay to hurt some of the native plants because you're getting rid of the fire fuel. Well, no, pretty much not getting rid of the fire fuel while still hurting the native plants. Look at this deathscape. This is all supposed to be green. They're all young oak trees providing foliage, tender foliage for whatever purposes wildlife want to use them for. Now we're heading into the winter and it's all going to be bare instead of full. And as I've already discovered, they will remain bare for almost the entire rest of the year.